Down in Atlanta where rhythm drums strong, riders unite after a whole year gone. Heritage and history blended so sweet, a family reunion beat by beat.
I'm excited to be here. I am a creative. Obviously, I'm a writer, I'm an actress, I'm the founder of a brand called Greenlight Yourself. I do a lot of work with Anthony at ABF Creative. We do events in the community for writers, filmmakers, actors, people who are trying to build their own IP and not waiting on Hollywood. I spent 21 years in Hollywood. I know the game. I worked at Lionsgate, I worked with Kevin Hart, I worked with LeBron James, lots of people. And I want to help us thrive and build audiences and monetize without waiting on Hollywood. So, yeah, excited to moderate this. Okay, our second panelist, Zoila Darton. Amazing. I'm going to do a few opening remarks and then we'll pass some introductions. Creativity is often talked about as inspiration, but rarely as practice, discipline, and care. Today's conversation is about what it truly means to say, I am creative, and to live that truth over time. We'll explore how panelists have mastered their creative journeys, their emotional and physical tools they lead along the way, and how they continue learning and sustaining their work in a digital world that demands constant output. So each panelist, can you please say your name, your creative lane, and one word that currently defines your relationship with creativity.
What's up, y'all? My name is Avita Robinson. I am a two-time Emmy Award-winning storyteller. I have been out in these streets. And I kind of work at this intersection of media and tourism. I'm also the founder of the 40,000 member Nomadness Travel Tribe. So I help get folks like us out into the world traveling. I've been doing that for the last 15 years. And I've taken both my authority in the tourism space and bridged it with the media space to be a travel host and storyteller, pulling BIPOC communities and intersectional community stories out of destinations. Because much like other areas, I feel like tourism is a very whitewashed thing. It's white people and landmarks, and I'm done with it. So I've been doing that for the last number of years around COVID, and kind of nudged my way in through media and tourism, and won a couple amazing awards along the way, and represented for our people. So that's me.
Hi everybody, my name is Zoila Darton. I am also not an Emmy award-winning, but I am an award-winning creative director, marketing strategist, producer, and mom of two. And my children are right back there. For as long as I can remember, I have been just mystified at the intersection of culture and commerce. And in 2017, I launched my first creative agency called Word, which stands for We Open Real Doors. And we sit at the intersection of culture and commerce, and it's not a mistake, it is all by design. And I feel it's a calling because whether we like it or not, these brands are in our communities, and so some of us, I wish all of us, need to be making sure that we're in there, not only controlling the narrative as much as we can, but making sure that the right people are getting paid to tell the stories that are selling these products to our communities. Somebody has to do it, and I want to make sure that we're being paid forward. So that's done over the last 8 or so years. And I'm just really happy to be here. Thank you, Black Writers Weekend, for having me, and I'm excited to chat.
Yay. For sure, I was that kid, and I think it actually, I don't know, so I just turned 42. So I don't mind aging myself, I'm cool with all that. I had a Teddy, does anybody remember Teddy Ruxpin? Okay, we just all aged ourselves. What's up, millennials and Gen Xers? But yeah, so I had a Teddy Ruxpin, and I was an RL. That's why I literally since the grade had some type of like corrective eyewear. But I think it really started from like Teddy Ruxpin, which is crazy to be up on a panel saying. Teddy Ruxpin, R.L. Stein, graduated to like Dean Koontz and James Patterson, and you know, it just, and Christopher Pike was like, once you're in high school, you're not as young as Goosebump books. Like, I had garbage bags full of those books that you could move. And I think that just at a young age, I didn't know what the format was gonna look like, I didn't know what the content was gonna be, but I was always like super smart, but also like I'm gonna fly through these books in my imagination. And I've been a writer, a journaler since a young age. I'm on my like 42nd journal. I had my license 10th grade on paper. But even as a kid, I remember being super young and just like writing. My brain was always just creatively going. So it's intuitive. Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. So similar to you, I don't remember when I was not creative. My introduction, though, I think started in the womb because both of my parents are musicians. And so I came out ready to dance and sing and perform. But over the years, I realized that I was not interested in being in front of the camera. I don't know if that was rejection or an actual guided pivot. But creativity to me, if I were to choose one word, I think it's complicated. I feel like it is a gift and a curse. And I also probably have a bit of ADHD because I have so many different ideas and I practice so many mediums, and because I ran my own agency, bootstrapped it, my budgets were so low in the very beginning that I kind of had to do all of the things, and my brain does this thing where it's like, oh, you might be good at that, and then it's like, burst over here, and it was like over here. And so now I'm 41, and I'm, as I said, a mom of two. I'm actually trying to build my building my second company, which is a childcare match agency. But one of the things that I'm really trying to work on is like, okay, now that I'm 41 and I don't really have the brain capacity to do all of the things, where do I live? And through my experience running Word and being an underserved, under budgeted agency, I learned that I also was so deeply drawn to storytelling, and I think it had a lot to do with my own life, like who I am, where I come from, and that like, what are you question, and like, where do you come from, and really diving into that. And so over the past few years, I've been directing, unfortunately, branded content. But somebody has to do it. But I take such deep pride in every little moment, every cast, every score, every angle through the camera lens, and every edit, that I do find myself, at some point, I will be in film. I don't know when it'll happen. I might be 50 when I do it, and that would be amazing. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but it is complicated being creative.
I forgot my word. And you busting out your shirt, ma'am, that day, because I don't do the algorithm rat race. I'm not gonna lie, and I think
That visibility was so important for you. Was it like a lack of opportunity, people not seeing you? Like, what was that moment that made you say, you know what, I need to be visible. People need to see me and they need to know my work.
I think winning Emmys is a very interesting thing. Because we live in this world right now of like talent, I don't want to say versus, but kinda, versus popularity. Yeah, who's loudest, right? And I feel in my gut the capability to bridge those two worlds, where I can be loud and also be saying something at the same time. And I think, to me, and the way that I want to live my life, but also I think what society needs, I think the key sweet spot so I can look at myself in the mirror every day and be cool with who's looking back at me is the bridge of those two things. And so the missing part, the work is there. Like, I'm hitting the markers, like we are doing the things, and it's amazing content and storytelling. The visibility is just the piece. It's just the puzzle piece. You start to kind of like I like to work backwards from things. Like, I'm trying to get there. Okay, what do I need to get there? And what are the action items to come forward to where I am right now? That lights my path. And I just know that just where we are, the ecosystem that we're in society, it's just visibility is just one of those things. And so that's my missing puzzle piece right now.
I want to chime in. Not that I might adopt your word visibility, because I think I need that too. Something that I've realized about myself and a lot of brilliant women and men, but I surround myself mostly with women, no offense. When you're brilliant, you think, I don't need to prove myself. I'm too busy working. And I've realized that I've been doing that for so long to a disservice of myself, because there are so many people with way less qualifications who do not work as hard as me, who don't care as much as me, because they just want to be centered, and I'm letting them lead the narrative while I'm over here, doing 50, 60, 70-hour work weeks. I'm like, and they're getting brand deals. And so I think, like, in particular, as being a Black woman, a person of color, anybody marginalized, like, we're so used to just having to be amazing that if we don't think what we're doing is tip-top perfect, we don't talk about it. And you don't need to be perfect, you need to be done, and you need to be seen. And so I'm with you.
So when we think about mastery and growth, what is mastery?
And going back to agency owner, I'm a creative director. I am the person that does the creative. I'm not supposed to be like, a CEO. That's actually not, well, I could be a founder, but I need to hire a CEO. And so I don't think it's necessarily about mastery. But in particular, with creative, and I think every single person is creative, it's just like a mathematician is creative. It's about what does it look like when you're in your genius, and how do you take the steps to get there? And that's where the mastery comes in, because it takes a lot of discipline and a lot of walking away of things. Just because you can doesn't mean that you should. And so that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm in right now. That's the season I'm in. 41, I feel like I'm rebuilding my life. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you for that. So many gems. Thank you.
Talking about how you want to blow your life up when you're like at 40.
And everybody in my way.
You just want to be like, wait, what am I known for? Red button. Boom.
Oh my God, I love this. I'm so curious, taking a step back of being in your genius. How did you learn? Did you have mentors? Was it trial and error? Was it formal education? Was it observation?
It depends on which part we're talking about. So because No Madness was kind of like my weird angle into media and storytelling, I was just a 3-time, it's funny, I'm trying to decolonialize my language, and so I'm very used to saying I was a 3-time expat, I was a 3-time immigrant. Yeah, I'm ready to ruffle some feathers in the tourism industry.
Listen, go on.
But yeah, so I lived in Japan, Thailand, and France, and this was in my early 20s. And so with that, there was a knowledge base through experience. I was like, and bless my parents' hearts and what they must have been going through, hearing the stories of their like literally, I moved to Paris 6 weeks after I graduated college. It was crazy. And so it was one of those things where experience has always been my biggest teacher. Like, and travel just does that though. Like, you can't get around what happens to you when you travel. That's why I tell people, like, people are scared or nervous about, I'm like, put the fear in your back pocket long enough to get on the plane. Because once you get on the plane and you're already en route, when you land, you would be so surprised how you show up, especially women, how we show up when it's just us and we may not know the language and we may not understand everything, but we find our way. There's a confidence that you derive from living a life like that I think is very unique. It is, and so it's like a time capsule to me. And so I don't hoard things, but maybe I hoard media in a way, like to see that transition. But yeah, it's like the likes of good, but nothing beats experience.
So for me, so my mom is a very humble businesswoman. And sometimes I feel like, Mom, but I feel like you need to be getting a little more money for this, or like a little more shine. Leaving your family business is crazy. It's like a mob. And then when I started my agency, it was some of my first jobs, my first accounts. I started managing an artist, and I got my first deal for him, which was a $20,000 deal. I was in labor with this one with aunties, I like to call them, older Black women and older Latina women who have been in the trenches of multicultural marketing or multicultural, or like sports agencies or whatever. And I don't see them as mentors. I see them as like family, and I call them honestly to cry. Yes. Because they always come to me with their own version of what I was going through, and they're 55 years old. Yep. And I'm like, okay, I need to put it in perspective. And they're like, babe, you're raising 2 children. Look, like you need to, and stop looking at the internet. The people are fake. They're not even on the internet. And they got nice 401ks. So I like, that's what I listen to. But I love to mentor. And I'm in a season of receiving mentorship. So if anybody here wants to mentor or give opportunities, I'm open for them.
Yeah. You just touched on something that I think is.
And to your point, I need the IP to come correct. Because I don't want people sourcing my life for the things that they're making. I don't know if you saw that movie with Lauren London and what's his face when they got married. She married the Jewish guy. What's his name? Jonah Hill. So when I got married, so my mom's Jewish. When I got married, we did the Hava Nagila, and I had my DJ mix niggas in Paris into Hava Nagila, and it was iconic. And I put that on my Instagram. And that was in the movie. That was a similar thing was in the movie, and I was like, it's probably unlikely, but you do, these things are real, and I know because I'm a director, I'm a creative director. I am in the internet. I'm like, last night I was singing about it, I was like, I'm an internet girl. So like, that's another thing. Right.
Internet. They don't want to touch you because they don't think it's gonna sell, right? I've never had any industry, including TV, make me feel like what I created with my 40,000 people in No Madness meant nothing. Like publishing was just like, oh, that's cute. And so what I learned was this is where visibility came from. I want my books. And so if you're telling me that one of these avenues is I gotta get my numbers up and I'm not gonna pay for followers because that's not how I rock, then that means that I need to be more visible. And that was my promise that I made to myself in the universe. It was just like, all right, we're gonna really pay attention to this. So what I did was I curate things in a manner and in a space that is both entertaining to me and only takes me about 30 minutes. And that 30 minutes is real. One of the things I did is I started these hot takes on my page last summer. And they started to really gain steam for the number of followers I had. And these are like crazy travel stories that I've had that I've never told people about. Some stuff is even pulled from chapters that I have for the memoir and my proposal. It's a way for people to get used to the storytelling and to know me as a well-rounded person and also give me just the slightest bit of distance from the tourism industry because that's really how I came up. And I want to be taken, seriously as a writer and and a storyteller. And so what I did was, there's a thing that I have on a whiteboard in my office at my house where I was talking about, it's about authority, not updates, right?
And I'm a wife. I have kids, 3, 2 adults in college, and 1 little one. But I still make it work some way. And I got a full-time job and a part-time job. Okay, so I love listening to you guys. Here's